Hello, yogis. In today's video, I would like to share with you some tips that you can use whenever you are doing your vinyasas, particularly when you go from plank to chaturanga or low plank and upward facing dog. I think this is important because when we do our vinyasa classes, we go through these uh, three poses repetitively. And one of the common causes of shoulder injuries is repetitive stress. So, if we are able to start and have a good foundation for these three poses, then we can minimize or prevent the chances of getting injured on our shoulders. Before we go through the poses, I just want to familiarize you with the shoulder joint. This is our shoulder joint, so it's actually composed of five joints. Oftentimes, when you think of the shoulder, we only think of the connection between the upper arm bone and the scapula. That's one joint. It's a true joint called the glenohumeral joint. But there are four more joints involved. One of them is the acromioclavicular joint, which connects the acromion, the bony part of your shoulder, to the clavicle or the collarbone. The third one is the sternoclavicular joint. So there's also articulation between the collarbone, clavicle, and the breastbone or the sternum. Then there are two false joints, false because they're not bone on bone articulation. There's a ligament here between the acromion and the coracoid process. So the joint found there is called the suprahumeral joint. And the other false joint is actually the scapulothoracic joint. There's some articulation between the shoulder blade and the thoracic portion of your spine or your rib cage. So those are the five. Okay. Now that we understand how complex the shoulder joint is, then we can proceed to the poses. Again, it's all about the plank, chaturanga or low plank, and upward facing dog. So what are the important things to remember when you are going through these poses? Number one is proper alignment. So make sure when you're in plank, shoulders, hips, and heels are in one long line. Don't collapse your hips or lift it up too high. So we want to engage everything in front of our body from the chest to the front of the hips, thighs, all the way down like you're kicking the wall with your heel. So that helps um, evenly distribute the weight throughout your whole body so that you are not putting all of the stress on your shoulders. Okay, next, arches and domes with the hands. So arches, you make arches with the fingertips like suction, and then a dome like you want to make a space on your palm. So that protects our wrists because um, the wrists are not quite as strong as the shoulders. So if you engage the muscles of the hands and fingers, then you are able to protect the wrist. So arches and domes, proper alignment, stack your shoulders, wrists, and elbows. And then when we start the chaturanga, it's very important to lean forward, shoulders past the fingertips. So why do we do that? Because according to the first joint rule, um, the first joint that you move takes the most of uh, the weight. So we know that the shoulder is stronger than the elbows and the wrist. So if we shift our weight forward, shoulders are the first to move, then we are able to protect the elbows as we go down to chaturanga. Okay, and then the next part is the actual chaturanga. When you do chaturanga, you have to make sure that your elbows are in and your shoulders are outer rotating. So squeeze the elbows in and open the chest, outer rotate the shoulders. We do that so that we are also engaging the muscles of our back. So now that we're putting a lot of stress on the shoulders, a lot of our weight is now forward. Once we shift forward, then we need to engage the muscles of the back in order to protect the shoulders. So plank, shift forward, elbows in, shoulders out to rotate. Now the next thing to remember is you need to make sure that you don't go past 90 degrees with your elbow. We do that because whenever we move past 90 degrees, it's hyperextending the shoulder and your shoulder will lose stability. So oftentimes the reason why some some yogis have stress on the shoulders, it's because of this hyperextension and it causes pain on the rotator cuff and also on the tendon that connects the bicep to the shoulder. So to prevent that, it's much better to do a baby bend rather than going all the way down and then pushing back up, because if you don't have the strength to engage the other muscles, you are compromising the stability of your shoulder. So it's much better for beginners to baby bend and go up, or for more advanced, do your chaturanga but only up to 90 degrees. Push up and then go to your upward facing dog without having to go all the way down. This this way you are protecting your shoulders and preventing pain as you do those three poses over and over. So again, just as a review, when you go to plank, proper alignment, shoulders, hips, and heels, and then protect your wrists with arches and domes, and then shift forward. So the first joint rule, shoulders will take most of the weight, not the elbows and wrists. Then when we go down for chaturanga, tip your elbows in, open out to rotate the shoulder to engage the back muscles. That's to protect your shoulders. And then when you go down, either do a baby bend or only up to 90 degrees to protect the shoulders, and go, go straight to upward dog without going all the way down. And then, so that's your tips for staying strong and safe in your vinyasa. I hope that helps. See you next time.